Staff of Homa, all the rage, right? Maybe, if using it correctly with Zhongli. So we know that Staff of Homa is a very strong weapon. We're gonna get right into it for you guys. It's very powerful on Hu Tao, but who else is it good on? A lot of people want to use it on Zhongli, and I'm gonna show you how to do that without messing it up. We're gonna be going over your artifact selection, main stats, substats, everything that you need to be doing correctly. Otherwise, you're gonna lose 15-20% damage, and maybe that's something that you guys might want to be doing depending on the build you're going for. So let's get right into it. What sort of damage are we looking at on Staff of Homa compared to something like the Primordial Jade Wing Spear, something like the good big daddy Zhongli weapon himself, the big Vortex Vanquisher? Is that going to be better than the Staff of Homa? So let's get right into it for this little mathematician build here for you guys. So first of all, no matter what it is that you're doing, if you're doing the elemental geo damage burst with the Archaic Petra 2-piece or the Nobles Oblige 2-piece, or if you're doing like a physical damage build with the Staff of Homa, you are always going to be wearing the proper main stat goblet. So if you're doing, geo damage with the elemental burst, that's your focus, you're wearing a geo damage goblet. You're not wearing attack percent, you're not wearing HP percent, even with the Staff of Homa. And if you're doing a physical damage build, you're wearing a physical damage goblet. That is just what you're going to be doing there. Now, your circlet is going to be changing based on what weapon that you're using in comparison to each other. If you're using the Staff of Homa, your circlet is going to be a crit rate circlet, not a crit damage circlet, because you're going to be needing a bunch of critical rate in order to sort of levy the fact that the Staff of Homa gives you a bunch of crit damage on it. It gives you a fair amount of bonus HP, a fair amount of bonus attack from the HP to attack ratio there. So that's something that you're really going to need to be doing there. Also, in comparison to other weapons like the Deathmatch and the Primordial Jade Wing Spear, who have crit rate on them already, they get to wear a crit damage main stat circlet on top of that. So it's going to be something that you're going to have to keep in mind there between those two builds. Now, for your sands here, we're going to be talking about the differences on the Staff of Homa between attack percent sands as well as an HP percent sands here for these different weapons as we go about it here. Also, the substats are going to be changing throughout the different builds here, so let's get right into it for you guys. So the first build here, Staff of Homa, how does it weigh up? This is the attack-based Staff of Homa, and this is the best build that you can do for your Staff of Homa. You are looking to build attack still. I know Staff of Homa has the HP to attack scaling, guys, but that is not all that good. It's not in comparison to a stacking attack percent. This is for a couple of reasons here for you here. Now, Zhongli does have HP scaling. That does not outweigh how much bonus damage you're going to be doing from just stacking attack. He has 251 base attack. Homa itself has 608, which isn't the highest in the world, but it is a 5-star weapon, so it is actually pretty significant as you're looking at 859 base attack total there. That 859 base attack is the number that you're working with when you're applying attack percent from your artifacts and your main stats and your substats. So it's going to be the best build for you there. If you're going for HP percent here in a build where you have a little bit of substat HP percent, you have the Staff of Homa 20% HP, you're going to be rounding out yourself around 28,000 HP. Maybe you get a little bit extra bonus substat. You can get like 30k HP there with Zhongli in total there. How does this work here? Staff of Homa, you have it refinement rank 1. You get 0.8% of your HP, 0.8%, not 8%, 0.8% of your HP to your attack. That is literally, if you have 28,000 HP, that's an additional 226 attack. That is in no way, shape, or form outscaling any sort of attack percent bonus whatsoever. So the first build here for the Homa, the attack build here, we have an attack percent sands, we have that geo goblet, we have the bonuses from our 2-piece in this situation. We're doing the 2-piece Noblest Oblige, 2-piece Archaic Petra sets. We're going to get the Ascension bonus here from the HP to the damage scaling there. On top of that, if you use your elemental burst with this build here with these substats totals, we have 61% crit rate, 176% crit damage, 28,000 HP. Our burst with the HP factor scaling in there is going to hit for 85,600 before we look into defense and spirit. This is just raw damage on the enemies there. So no level scaling. It's going to affect all the builds the same way. So 86,000 damage there with the elemental burst there. If you have a Bennett buff up, right, Bennett giving you an extra 800 attack, have 115,000 damage there in raw damage. If you use an HP, pure HP scaling Homa build, where you're going all HP. You have an HP percent Sans. You have 50% HP in substats, right? You want the big, chonky, tanky boy. You get no attack percent. You just all HP substats. 50% HP substats. So that 61% crit rate, 176% crit damage. Now you have 42,000 HP. But your elemental burst, even after factoring in that HP scaling, 71,000 damage. With Bennett, you're doing 101,000 damage there. So you're losing out on a pretty significant portion of your damage there. You're looking at like a 15-ish, 10%, 15%, depending on how much of a loss you're getting between your different artifacts there in damage. A lot of you guys might not say that's super significant there, but one main thing to take away here too is that this is factoring in the higher HP to attack scaling, right? When you're above 50% HP with the Staff of Homa. And that's pretty much what you're going to be doing on Zhongli with the Staff of Homa. You're not going to be under sub 50% HP, especially on a build that's stacking a bunch of health, because you have these giant shields in this health build as well. And factoring in the new shield change to Geo characters in Genshin Impact, there are 150% bonus effectiveness against everything. So if you have 42,000 HP, you put up a shield that absorbs, 15,000 damage flat, then it's got 150% effectiveness on top of that. You have like a 22,500 HP absorption shield, and it's probably gonna be even higher than that, especially if you have that stuff leveled up with that amount of HP. Enemies just aren't getting through that shield, and you're using that shield because guess what? You want that bonus damage increase from the 20% in physical and 20% to all elemental reduction to the enemy's resistances while that shield is on you. So you're never really going to be able to get him down to the lower HP bonuses there. Keep that in mind. Now, Staff of Homa is a fantastic weapon for Zhongli, especially if you don't have a 5-star weapon. So if you're a Zhongli fan and you don't have, Primordial Jade Windspear, you don't have Vortex Vanquisher, you don't have any of those other weapons, all you have is like 4-star weapons, feel free to go and get it, but just make sure that you're following the stuff that we talked about thus far in the video, because if you don't build him correctly, you build him with a crit damage, all crit damage, substats, all HP, your build is going to be absolutely terrible. You need the crit rate, you need to get the 50-60% crit rate, you need to do that, you need to use that attack percent Sans, and even with that attack percent, all offensive build like the one that we have here, even though this isn't using Staff of Homa, which is a plus to this sort of like a little situation we're in, he only has 26k HP, like we talked about before, right? 26,000 HP. And his shields are absolutely massive with the Geo Resonance changes because you get 15%, especially if you're in a double Geo team, 15% extra shield strength. Not to mention his talents come in because we have Resonant Waves. His Jade Shield, whenever it takes damage, you get a stacking buff to shield strength, so you get 25% up to that increased power to your shields over time. So if you put up a 15k HP shield, it's got 150% bonus effectiveness. This gives it 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% additional effectiveness. On top of that, you're going to have a shield that's absorbing up to 30,000 damage, even if you're not in a full HP based build. So it's really overkill. Nothing does that much damage in this game to warrant you, getting those 60,000 HP shields outside of making those funny YouTube clips where you can just stand in everything for 12 seconds. And when I say everything and everything, I mean you stand in 15 fireballs, ice coming through the roof, Santa Claus is dropping presents down on your head, full of charcoal bags because you've been a naughty boy. That is the kind of stuff that you'd be able to do with that build. But for the most of the regular players out there and the regular kinds of content that you guys are going to be doing out there, that is completely overkill. You do not need to be doing that. You do not need all of that stuff. You can just go for the full attack build, and you're going to be doing good damage with the Staff of Homa. I mathed it all out, and they're all right next to each other. That's right, Jade Wingspear, Vortex Vanquisher, and Staff of Homa, they're all really right around each other within 1 or 2, 3%, depending on what weapon you're using with the proper builds there. And it's just amazing. As long as you go about it the right way, Staff of Homa is a fantastic weapon for Zhongli, but don't do it the wrong way. Otherwise, you're going to absolutely ruin your character. You have a nice character out there, just like I said, absorbing everything under the planet, man. He could take a spirit bomb with that. If that's what you want to do, man, go for it. But I'm telling you, it is absolutely overkill in Genshin Impact right now. Maybe in the future, there'll be a build like that where you want to be able to have someone who can absorb giant damage. Maybe one day we'll have like dungeon bosses and raid bosses, but that content doesn't exist right now. And there's no reason to have a character doing that because you're losing 15, 20% damage. You're losing damage, you're really not gaining that much in return. Now, obviously, if you guys have different artifacts out there for you, right? One of your, maybe you have an HP Sands that's got 40% crit damage on it because you rolled it like a god, then that's going to be better for you. But all things considered, with the right similar substats, if you had to make a choice between an attack percent Homa build for Zhongli and an HP percent Homa build for Zhongli, you need to go for the attack percent one, all things considered. With that being said, guys, if you want to find out more Genshin Impact content coverage, news, information, just have fun with us here on the channel. Make sure you hit that like button to help out the channel. Let the YouTube algorithm know that we exist. All right, and I want to see how you've been using your Zhongli. With staff, without staff, should I get staff? Down below in the comment section. Until then, guys, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.